I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel. I'm so glad you're here today because today is our first ornament of the month for our year-long crochet along for 2026. Yes, it's already 2026. All right, and so each month we're going to do an ornament. That ornament can be made Christmassy to go on your Christmas tree or used for Christmas decorations, but it can also be used to decorate around your house. And so today's ornament is a skein of yarn. Sometimes we call them skeins. I don't care what you call it. It's super cute. Isn't that adorable? It's stuffed with stuffing. And we stitched the word yarn on the front. I added some holly and a ribbon, and then a ribbon here so we can hang it up. And of course, all the decorations are totally up to you. And we'll talk about yarn and such in just a few minutes. Now this measures approximately 3 inches across, and it's about 7 inches long. So it's a really great size. It'll also make just a fun decoration to make a bunch of and set them around your house or your yarn or craft room. They make great gift tags as well. You can always hang this on a gift for someone for their birthday or something. If they asked for some yarn or something made out of yarn, you could use it as a gift tag or just something extra special to put in with their gift. It's super cute and super easy. Now, you can find the complete pattern with pictures on my blog as always, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. All right, let's talk supplies. Now, the yarn that I used is a medium weight number 4 acrylic yarn. You can use any acrylic yarn from your stash. You don't even need but like maybe a half of an ounce, if that much, because you have to make a front and a back. All right, so you're going to need a main color, and I'm going to use this beautiful lemon yellow, and then a white or a lighter color, because this represents the paper or label for your yarn. And then you're going to need just a little bit of another color. I'm using black, just to stitch on the word yarn. And you could stitch something else on there, like the person's name or something if you wanted to. All medium weight acrylic yarns. You're also going to need just a little bit of ribbon. And I just like to really pick up these thin ribbons. I get these at Hobby Lobby. I watch for when they're on sale because they have ribbon sales just like they have yarn sales. And I'll pick up several of colors I know that I'll use down the road. I used red on this one, but I think with the yellow one, I'm going to use the green. I think that will look really pretty together. Haven't decided yet. Of course, you watched the video at the beginning, so you know the colors I chose. All right, we're going to be stitching today with an H hook, which is a 5mm. You need a needle for weaving in ends, and of course, you're going to need a pair of scissors. Now, I bought these embellishments, this little leaf, and I've also got this poinsettia, which I'm going to use today on the yellow one that I'm making, because I do want them to be Christmassy, but they don't have to be. You can find out what that person's into. If they love animals like cats or dogs, you could always put a little button there that's a cat or a dog or something else that they're into. You know, just because we're into yarn doesn't mean we're not into other things, right? And so you could put a little coffee cup button there if you wanted to. Whatever you want, you can do. Just whatever you have on hand. See, I've got some little sparkly snowflakes here that look super cute on there as well. But I love these poinsettias because they are sparkly. They do mess with my camera a little bit, but I just love them. All right, so any kind of embellishments that you want, any ribbons that you want, any yarn colors that you want, as long as it's medium weight number 4 acrylic, will work. All right, and then you need just a small amount of stuffing. Just a good size handful, not much, of stuffing. And this is just your basic polyester fiber fill. Okay? Poly fiber fill. And then, of course, the last thing you need, if you're sewing on a button, you can always sew that on. But these do not have the ability to sew them on. And so I've got my glue gun here all ready to go, so I can just glue those on right up here at the top when I put my ribbon on. All right? All right, let's get started. This is going to be a fun one. All right, so let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we have 10 chains. We're going to go right in that second chain from the hook and stitch a single crochet. And then we'll single crochet in each of those chains across. And that's going to give us 9 single crochets. Oops, get in there. All right, so now I have stitched a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then in one across, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 single crochets, and we're going to chain 1. That's row 1. All right, let's do row 2. We've chained 1. We're going to turn our work. In the first single crochet, we're going to stitch 2. 1 and 2 single crochets. Then we'll stitch 1 in each across until we reach that last single crochet. And in the last single crochet, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. All right, now we're in the last one. So we'll stitch, oops, pull the string instead of the yarn. There we go. 1 and 2 and chain 1. All right, and so now on that first row we had 9. On row 2 we have 11 single crochets. All right, so now we're ready for row 3. We've chained 1. We're going to turn our work. We're again going to place 2 single crochets in the first, so that gives us 2, and then 1 in each across until again we reach that last stitch, and then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in that last stitch. So then we're going to have 13 single crochets for row 3. All right, 2 in the last, 1 and 2. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 single crochets for row 3. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're just going to place 1 single crochet in each for row 4. We're not increasing anymore. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 single crochets. All right, so on row 3 and row 4 we have 13 single crochets. So now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat row 4 for 3 more rows. All right, so we've chained 1. We're going to turn our work and stitch 1 single crochet in each of those single crochets all the way across, and we're going to repeat this for 3 rows. 1 single crochet in each across, chain 1, turn, and so we're repeating row 4 for 3 more rows. I have completed those 3 additional rows, and that brings us up to row 7. Now for row 8, we're going to be doing some decrease or stitching 2 single crochets together. So we chained 1, we're going to turn our work, and we're going to go in the first single crochet and pull up a loop, then go in the next single crochet and pull up a loop. Yarn over and go through all 3 of those. So we've decreased by 1. And we're going to single crochet across, until we reach those last 2 stitches, and then we're going to single crochet together the last 2 stitches, or what we call a single crochet decrease. All right, so here's my last 2 stitches. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, then we'll go in that last one, pull up a loop. You'll have those 3 loops, yarn over and go through all 3 and chain 1. And so now what we've done is we've taken our row and made 11 single crochets instead of 13 because we came in just a little bit. And now we're going to do that again for row 9. So chain 1 and turn, and we're going to stitch the first 2 together in a single crochet decrease, and then stitch 1 in each across, and then stitch our last 2 together in another single crochet decrease, or stitching 2 together. Alrighty, so now we're to that last 2, and we'll stitch these 2 together in a single crochet decrease and chain 1. And so for row 9, now we have 9 single crochets, and you can see how that brought that in just a little bit, and this is what gives us our sort of skein or skein, however you want to pronounce that. I don't care, just as long as you do. They kind of give us that roundedness on the edge, and then we're going to add, you know, our label on in just a second. I brought my mat out because my table is white, and we're going to be using some white yarn for our label. All right, now we're going to leave the color 1 attached, but we're going to take that chain 1 out, okay? Because we want to bring in our new yarn, and we want to chain 1 with our new color. All right, we're going to turn our work. We're leaving the color 1, which is my yellow, attached, and we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those single crochets across, and you should have 9 at this point, because this is the portion where it's going to look like our skein of yarn has a label. Chain 1, turn, and repeat 1 single crochet in each of those 9 single crochets. All right. And see how that's beginning to look like our label, and it looks like the paper of the label has kind of pulled in our yarn. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to continue to repeat row 10. We did 2 rows, and we need to do 4 more rows of just 1 single crochet in each of those 9 stitches across, chain 1 and turn for an additional 4 more rows. So we have a total of 6 rows of our white for our label. So I've completed 3. I need to do 3 more. So I've completed those rows. We have 6 rows of our white. I pinned it to the board because the 2 edges kept curling up. And that's just natural with doing rows of single crochets. All right, we'll take those pins out. We're going to cut our white yarn because we are done with our white yarn. And so now we're ready for row 16. So we're going to grab our color 1, snug that down, but I'm leaving this one a little bit loose because we need to be able to, when we stitch the front and back together, to stitch over that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn, snug everything down, and all we're going to do on row 16 is stitch 1 single crochet in each, just like we did on those previous rows. Sorry, my voice is just a little bit scratchy. I've probably just been talking too much. Alrighty, so on row 16 we have 9 single crochets and chain 1. So now we're ready for row 17. We've chained one, we're going to turn our work. We're going to stitch 2 single crochets in the first because we need to increase out a little bit so that the top portion of our skein is shaped similar to the bottom portion. All right, so there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 2 in the last, 10 and 11. All right, we'll go ahead and chain 1. And so what we did is we increased at the beginning and end of our row, and so now we're back up to 11 single crochets. So now we are ready for row 18, and we're going to increase again. So we're going to go right in that first single crochet and stitch 2 single crochets, and then again we'll stitch 1 in each across and then 2 in the last, and that will bring us up to 13 single crochets. All right, now we're to the last one, and we'll stitch 2 single crochets in the last and chain 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 single crochets. Chain 1. Now we'll turn our work, and on row 19 we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 13 single crochets across. This pattern is a good practice in shaping, learning increases and decreases in order to make the shape of our skein of yarn. All right, that last one in there. So now we have 13 single crochets, and you can see we're starting to form that shape again like we did down here. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to take these pins out, is we're going to repeat row 19 for 3 more rows like we did down here. We're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 13 stitches, chain 1 and repeat, and we're repeating row 19 for 3 more rows. I have completed those 3 additional rows of just 1 single crochet in each, and each row had 13 single crochets. Now we're going to decrease down so we get this curve coming down up here. So we're going to stitch the first 2 together, single crochet in each across, and then stitch the last 2 together in our single crochet decrease. All right, now into those last 2, and we're going to single crochet them together, chain 1 and turn and repeat. We'll single crochet the first 2 together, single crochet in each across until we reach those last 2 single crochets, and then stitch those last 2 together and chain 1, and you can see how it's moving back around, how this did. All right, and so for our last row we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 9 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoops, 6, 7, 8, and 9 single crochets and chain 1. All right, and now we've completed the shape of our first skein of yarn. And don't forget, you need to make 2. Now you need to make 2, so you're going to repeat that row 1 through 25 so that you have 2. Now this one I've gone ahead and weaved in all the ends. This one I have not. All right, I'm going to do that in just a minute, but do not tie off your second one. And you'll notice I have them pinned to a board. It's just because I decided to stitch these really tight in order to keep the batting or the stuffing from showing through. And when you do that, it causes them to curl a little bit. If you're worried about that, you can always put them on a blocking board, spritz them with a little water and let them dry. But I'm not worried about that. I just wanted them so that you could see how they look when they're all completed. Okay, and I really love them. They're a lot of fun, but you'll notice as I unpin them that they're going to curl a little bit. And that's just because like I said, I stitched them really tight. All right, and so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to weave these ends in, and then we're going to put them together and make a little stuffing. All right, so I'm going to grab my needle and go ahead and get this one all weaved in, except for this last one. Don't cut that, because we're going to use that to stitch them together. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and tidy this one up, and we'll be ready to stitch them together. All right, so now we're going to take our 2 skeins of yarn and put them together, and we're going to stitch all the way around to here, and then we'll stuff it from the bottom and then close it up. All right. All right, so we're going to start this side. And we're just going to single crochet the front and the back together. You want to have your right sides facing out, because we're not going to flip this over. We're going to keep it on this front side. And make sure you keep your white portion lined up so that your label of your yarn stays put. And we're just going to follow it around. Now, I'm over here to where I've got my label on this side and this yarn where I carried it. All right, and so I'm just going to go through that and stitch over that yarn, or maybe around it, I should say. And make sure you keep everything nice and lined up. There we go. Oops. And we'll just follow the shape of the skein of yarn all the way around. All right, so I want to show you real quick. See how we followed that around? Here's the back where we stitched over that piece of yarn that we trailed across there. And we'll just keep going around. Now there is not a set amount of stitches that you need. You just need to make sure that you're not stitching it too close together to make it pucker and not too far apart, because we don't want any stuffing to get out through the edges that we're putting it together. And the nice thing about yarn is it's stretchy, and so you can, if you feel like you're off a little bit, you can just stretch it over there a little bit. Make sure everything stays lined up. All right, and so I'm just going to continue stitching all the way around. There's that first side. We're going to go all the way around this side to this opening, and then we'll leave this opening open and we'll stuff it. So I have stitched all the way around. Now I'm going to stuff it, and you're going to want to start with a little bit so you can get it up in those corners. They're really not corners, but you know, so make sure you get it up in there. So that it gets a good shape. There we go. And you don't have to stuff it really, really tight. You just want to have enough in there where it's a little bit puffy. And I kind of like it to puff more at the top and the bottom, so it kind of looks like that skein of yarn with that label wrapped around it. All right. All righty. So now it's stuffed. And we're going to close up the bottom, and then all the decorating is going to take place. It's fun to make the skein, but it's also super fun to decorate it. And remember, you don't have to decorate it as a Christmas ornament. It can be an ornament just to hang in your yarn room or as a gift tag. Lots of different ways to use ornaments. All righty. A bit more yarn out there. Okay. All right, so now we are ready to tie off. I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch, and then we'll go in that next loop and pull it to the back. There we go. So we have a nice finish. That's so cute. Now this is the bottom. This will be your top. Unless you want the other end to be your bottom. That's totally up to you. But I'm going to take a couple minutes and weave this in. And then I'm going to show you how to put that word yarn on your yarn. That way there's no mistaking that it is yarn. Okay? You don't want people to look at that and say, oh, it's a dumbbell. Or something else that's shaped like this, you know? So, we weave this in. I'll grab my black yarn and we'll get the word yarn stitched on the front. So I have some yarn on my needle. Same thing, medium weight number 4. And what I like to do is I like to make the A and the R first and then come out here and do the Y and the N. That way I know it's more in the middle, you know, and even. All right, so I'm going to come up from behind. I do have a lot of yarn on here because, you know, you got to make the whole word. All right, so we're just doing little block letters. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can do it however that you want to. All right, so I'm just making the A. All right, I'm going to go in here and make the other leg of the A, and then I'm going to come back up here. There we go. And the size of the letters is totally up to you. All right, and then I'm going to come down here. Oops, there we go. All right, I pulled that too tight. Let's loosen that. There we go. Now we're going to make the R. Oops, keeps getting caught on those little bumps. And we're pretty much going to do it similar. All right, so now we're going to come over here and finish our R. You have to be careful not to pull them too tight. That's the thing. You want them to be just a little bit loose. All right, so now we're going to go in and then come over here. There we go. All right. And I'm just going to make 2 lines. And then I'll just come right down here and finish that in. All right. Like that. You don't want that to pull too tightly. You want it to be just a little bit loose. All right, now I'm going to go through the stuffing because now we're going to make that Y, and I'm going to come in about right there. And be careful not to pull too tight. There we go. And I did the R backwards. I mean the N backwards. All right, I pulled that back out. I'm going to make the N correctly. All right, now we'll come back over this way and do the Y. And the reason I do it this way, as far as doing the AR and then the N and then come back and do the Y, that way you can center your AR, okay? All right, so we're just going to come down and make the bottom part of the Y. Then we'll come back up. Putting the word yarn on here is probably the hardest part of the project, but you can do it. It's not that hard. All right, now I'm just going to pull this to the back. But you want to go through stuffing, but don't pull too tightly. All right? Not cute. All right, so now I'm going to weave these ends in and tidy this up. All right, so I've got it all done with the word yarn on there. It's super cute. And now we're going to add the embellishments. And of course, it's totally up to you what you want to do. We're going to put the tie on first. So we're going to go through here. I did that backwards. We're going to come from the back and pull the ribbon this way. And then we'll go over. We want to make sure this is centered. And if you want to add some beads or bells or whatever you want on there, you certainly can. All right, and I'm just going to tie this into a knot. And now we've got a hanger for our yarn ornament. Now what we're going to do is add the bow. And we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to pull it this way in those same holes. There we go. Move those out of the way and we'll tie a bow. And the size of the bow is totally up to you. You can make it as big as you want or as small as you want. I wanted this one to be just a little bit small so that it kind of resembles the leaves underneath. All right, now this I'm going to have to hot glue on. So I've got my glue all ready to go. All right. Tilt my bow a little bit and that glue will help hold it in place. There we go. So now I put the poinsettia on. A little bit crooked. There we go. I want to move it before the glue got dry. All right, and so now I have my yarn ornament with a poinsettia and a green ribbon. And of course, here's the blue one with the red ribbon and the holly berries. All right, so this is our first ornament of the month for our 2026 Crochet Along. And I know it's probably not what you were expecting, and I like that. Each month is not going to be what you think. It's going to be something different, something fun. And the truth of the matter is, I want them to be something that aren't just for Christmas, that can be used for other things as well. All right, so have fun, make a bunch. You could put this into a bunting and hang it across in your yarn room. I just might do that.